Hello, everyone. I'm officially opening class this morning, the first class of 2025. It's January 4th, and I'm so pleased to have our guest teacher be Karen Meyer. And I will turn the class over to her very, very quickly. But I just want to say that I'm very excited about this series of classes that Karen is going to be doing every other month, starting this month. And she is going to be going through all the lessons in the Somatics book at the back of the book. And she's going to be recalibrating each of those lessons. And of course, she's updated some of the language, some of the instructions. She's put her own spin on certain things. She's a very, very wonderful, competent teacher. And one of the things I like about her is she really knows how to pace really well. I've learned a lot from her about pacing and quiet time and things like that. Um, I think with that, Karen, I'm going to turn the class over to you, and I will be back at the end of class. Oh, I do want to say that everybody is welcome to stay after class. I turn off the recording, but anybody who wants to stay on, and we have these lovely, often very in-depth discussions that come up from people's questions or confusions or ahas or whatever comes up. So please, you're welcome to stay if you want. It's optional. Class will end in about an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, with that, Karen, I'm going to go ahead and turn the class over to you.
Thank you very much, Susan. And as always, it's an absolute pleasure working with you. And today's class begins our recalibration of Thomas Hanna's 8 basic lessons of somatic movement. Thomas Hanna's book, Somatics, which Susan showed you a few moments ago, published in 1988, helps any person of any age and circumstance or stage in life gain in physical, mental, emotional stability and suppleness. The 8 basic lessons of Hanna somatic movement in chapter 14 uniquely provide our brains with the ideal conditions to waken up our brain cells into making new connections and create new possibilities to gain full use of all mind-body functioning systems, otherwise known as soma. Simply by learning how to make Hanna somatic movement very slow and subtle, bringing our conscious attention, our maximum conscious attention to our movement while noticing what we are doing, thinking and feeling, takes the quality of information we provide to a new, higher level, shapes our internal knowledge, our somatic literacy, and inner self-healing processes. Modern-day neuroscience reiterates Thomas Hanna's vision that the creative power of the brain continues to grow, develop, and change us throughout our lifetime. In this series with me, Karen Meyer, you will rediscover what is possible for you. You will experience great benefit from slowing down and refamiliarizing yourself with the basic sequence of movements once again. You will come to know that loss of energy, strength, and activity and comfort is not down to stress, injury, or aging per se, more the result of habits, beliefs, and limitation we set either consciously or unconsciously. Recalibrating these 8 lessons primarily gives you accurate readings to navigate your internal landscape and be able to correlate them with external points of reference. My hope is that you will bring yourself back to basics, recalibrate the 8 lessons, and enrich the development of your personal practice in your own quiet time. When you do, change will emerge. Your life will become richer, freer, and filled with joy, because you will be moving, thinking, and feeling in more precise, refined, and interconnected ways. So before we begin, the first step, as always, in your Hanna somatic practice is finding your comfortable space. And give yourself enough space today and at any time in your practice to be able to take 3 or 4 steps and to have some supporting, a chair or a stool, perhaps, if you like that, to be able to come down onto the floor or to come back up again from the floor at the end of the session. And during today's session, it will be nice for you to have a selection of blankets underneath you to support you, and as well to have some separate blankets, some smaller size blankets to support under your head if you need it. And because we will be going onto our fronts as well today, it's also lovely to have some little cushions that have a certain amount of support so that you're still going to get accurate readings when you're doing your movements. So when you come onto your front, if it is uncomfortable for you, and it can be to begin with, it's nice to have a little cushion or a scarf that you can fold to different thicknesses and find what is the right amount of support you need, perhaps for underneath your shoulder and the front of your chest. If it's uncomfortable, perhaps to turn one way or the other when you're lying on your front. And also, it's useful to have a towel or another blanket that you can perhaps roll. And when you're lying on your front, it's nice to put that underneath the fronts of your ankles as well, if that helps. As long as you're in comfort, that's the information that you're going to provide to your brain, and it will move you in comfort. So this is your first step in your practice, to find your comfortable space. So you may like to gather just now a few extra blankets or little cushions or whatever you feel that you may need for today's session. And it's also good to have a bolster as well. That's always very useful for when you come to lying down on your back. So if you have a bolster, then it's handy to have that next to where you're going into your practice, so that they're to hand whenever you need them, and you don't need to interrupt your practice at all. So we're actually going to be beginning walking. So when you have all of your materials ready, then we will begin walking. So you may like to move a few things aside if you need to, so that you have some space. But if you don't, that's fine. Go with the space that you have. So let's begin walking. Walking gives you the perfect knowledge of balance. You are finding the precise foot position and necessary coordination to recover your balance that is momentarily broken as you take each step forwards. Feel your lightness and balance as your weight is transferred from one leg to the other. Where are you feeling your weight? Where are you feeling your weight as each foot makes contact with the ground? Feel the movement in your ankle joints. Gain a sense of the insides of your ankle joints as you are walking. Your knees, your hip joints. Feel the movement in your pelvis. And feel the swinging in your arms. And as you are walking, are you feeling your weight perhaps more towards the front pads of your feet as you are taking each step forwards? Or perhaps you are feeling more weight towards the backs of your heels. Feel your uprightness. Feel your balance. And where are you looking with your eyes on your horizon? And slow your walking down, making it slower, feeling how you are placing your feet. And gradually slow it down and come to standing. And as you are standing, feel your upright vertical axis from the top of the crown of your head down your spine, vertebra by vertebra, to your tailbone, and from your tailbone to the ground. As you are standing, you are under the force of gravity that's pulling you down, and there is an equal and an opposite force that is pushing you up as the ground receives your weight. Feel where you are feeling your weight in your feet. You are in a dynamic equilibrium, and your brain is preoccupied with keeping you in balance, in maintaining your balance. And if perhaps you are feeling more weight, more in the direction of the front pads of your feet, using your voluntary control, very slowly go a little bit further forwards in your feet, in the direction of your toes, and feel what is happening in other parts of you. Very, very slowly, bring your attention to what's happening all the way down your spine. And from there, very slowly transferring your weight through your feet. Come back to where you feel balanced, where you feel the most balanced. And has this changed in any way? On the other hand, if you are feeling perhaps that your weight is more in the direction of the back of your heels, you may be feeling perhaps that your knees are bending slightly. You may like to ever so slightly move a little bit further back so that you're feeling a little bit more weight in the back of your heels, in your feet. And then very slowly release out of that. And continue on, transferring your weight more in the direction of the front pads of your feet. And are you feeling your weight going through your toes? Feel what's happening in your shoulders and your arms. And then only going as far as feels balanced for you. Slowly transfer your weight through your feet in the direction of the backs of your heels. And you may feel that your knees would like to bend. You may feel movement in other parts of you. Feel what's happening in your head and in your neck as you slowly transfer your weight towards the front of your feet. And continue with those movements very slowly, very gently. You are exploring the forwards and the backwards direction of movement in your spine. So as you are transferring your weight more towards the front pads of your feet, this is a backwards direction of movement in your spine. And then slowly, as you transfer your weight through your feet in the direction of the backs of your heels, this is more a forwards direction of movement in your spine. You may actually feel yourself curling in slightly. And then make the movement smaller and slower. And you may be feeling this in other parts of you. What is the most prominent to you? And slowly come back to where you feel most balance and where you feel most equilibrium. As you are standing upright, and how is your spine carrying the weight of your head as you are standing? And where are you looking with your eyes on your horizon? Give yourself a few moments to feel the movement in your breathing and to feel whether where you feel most balance has changed in any way. And very slowly and very gently, keeping your internal awareness, you are going to slowly bring yourself to lying down on the floor. And you may like to motor plan that, how you are going to bring yourself to lying down before you come to lying down. You may prefer to use a support to come down onto the floor. You may like to come over onto your side before you then lie on your back. And you are coming to lie down on the floor, on your back. And it's nice to begin with your legs long along the floor. But if this is uncomfortable for you, it's lovely to support your legs with a bolster underneath your knees. And if this is comfortable for you, then that's a lovely way to come to lying down. And feel how you are making contact with the floor. You are developing your conscious relationship with the ground in doing these movements. And that is lovely to have a greater awareness of how it is comfortable for you to come to lying down. You may like to have a folded blanket underneath your head to support you. And allow your arms to release softly by your sides. And feel how you are placing your arms. If it isn't comfortable for you to have your legs long, and if you don't have a bolster at all, then a rolled towel is lovely to have as an alternative. As you are lying, trace your midline from the top of the crown of your head, behind your neck, and down your spine, vertebra by vertebra, to your tailbone, and around and through you to your pubic bone and to your breastbone and to the top of the front of your forehead. And feel where your weight is the most, either side of your midline. Is one side of your head perhaps making more contact with the floor than the other? Does one shoulder feel heavier than the other? How are you placing your arms? And are you feeling your weight on the underside of your pelvis differently on one side relative to the other? And as you continue your awareness through your thighs to your knees and to your feet, where are you feeling your weight the most? On the backs of your heels. Bring your attention to your breathing. Feel the broadening and the narrowing of your ribs. And bring your attention to your waistline area. And you may like to trace where your waistline area is. It's in that lovely soft area between the lower border of your ribs and the upper border of your pelvis. And you may like to trace in your imagination, beginning where your breastbone is and tracing around your ribs in your front and around to one of your sides and around to your spine in your back and around the other side of your ribs in your back to the other side of your ribs and around the front of your ribs to your breastbone once more. And trace the upper border of your pelvis, beginning where your pubic bone is and coming around one of your hip bones and around the side of one of your hip bones, and trace in your imagination around the top of the back of your pelvis of one of the sides of your hip bones, and in between both of your hip bones, your left hip bone and your right hip bone, you have your sacrum, which is at the very base of your spine. And this is where you may be feeling quite an amount of weight in your sacrum, which is in between your two hip bones as they're making contact with the floor. And continue tracing around your other hip bone and around the side of your hip bone, your other side, and then down the front once more to your pubic bone. And your waistline area is in between, in the lovely soft tissue in between the upper border of your pelvis and the lower border of your ribs. And feel the movement of your ribs and your pelvis as you are breathing. And bring your attention to your right foot and very slowly bring your right foot, the top of your right foot, slightly further away from your right shin bone. You may feel that your leg is changing position slightly. And it's as if you are going to be pointing your toes very gently in your right foot. It's a very small movement. And then just slowly let that come back and allow your leg to go, your right leg to go back to where it would like to go. And go into that movement again very slowly and gently bring the top of your right foot further away from your right shin bone. It's as if you're pointing your toes, but this time bring your toes whilst you are bringing the top of your right foot away from your right shin bone in the direction of your right knee. And then slowly allow your foot and your toes to release and to go back to where they would like to go. And go into that movement once more, very slowly. You are going as if you are bringing the top of your right foot away from your shin bone, and at the same time, you are coordinating this movement so that your toes are moving in the direction of your right knee. And as you release out of that, this time you are releasing your toes and you're releasing in your ankle joint at the same time, and slowly let your right leg and your right foot to go back to where they would like to go. And rest for a moment. And we'll go into that movement with your left foot. Begin by slowly bringing the top of your left foot further away from your left shin bone, very slowly and gently, going comfortably far, and then slowly release out of that, and just allow your left leg to come back to where it would like to go comfortably. And this time, as you are bringing the top of your left foot further away from your left shin bone, bring your toes of your left foot in the direction of your left knee. And then slowly release out of that, feeling whether there are any differences in your sensations in your left leg, your left foot, your left ankle joint, and your left toes relative to your right side. And this time, when you go into that movement, slowly bringing the top of your left foot slightly further away from your left shin bone, and at the same time, you're bringing your toes of your left foot in the direction of your left knee. And as you release, slowly coordinate the movement so you are releasing your toes and you're releasing in your ankle joint, and you're allowing your left leg to come back to wherever it would like to go at the same time. And rest for a moment. And go into that movement with both of your feet at the same time. With your left foot and your right foot, slowly bring the tops of both of your feet slightly further away from your shin bones of both of your legs. And at the same time, you're bringing your toes of both of your feet in the direction of your knees. And you may be feeling this in your lower back area. Feel what might be happening in your lower back area as you do this, and then very slowly, with immense slowness, come out of that movement, allowing your toes and your ankle joints and your legs to return back to where they would like to go. And give yourself a few moments to feel your internal sensations from those movements. This time, you're going to be starting with your right leg once more, and you are going to be bringing the top of your foot more in the direction of your shin bone. So starting with your right foot, go into that movement, bring the top of your right foot in the direction of your right shin bone. Feel your internal sensations from that movement. Only go a small way, and then slowly release out of that and allow your leg to come back. And this time, as you bring the top of your right foot in the direction of your right shin bone, curl your toes of your right foot in on themselves. And as you are doing this, go very slowly, go very carefully, and feel your toes as they are doing that. And only go comfortably far, and then very slowly release your toes and allow your foot and your leg to come back to where they would like to go. And pause for a moment. And when you go into that movement again with your right foot, as you are bringing the top of your right foot in the direction of your right shin bone, this time, at the same time, curl the toes of your right foot in on themselves and feel the movement with your toes and your ankle joint, and feel the coordination of that movement. And then slowly, at the same time, release your toes as you are releasing in your ankle joint and in your right leg. Just letting your leg go back to where it would like to go, and pause. Feeling your internal sensations. And go into those same movements with your left foot. Begin by bringing the top of your left foot in the direction of your left shin bone, only going as far as feels comfortable for you, and then very slowly coming out of that movement. And this time, as you are bringing your top of your left foot in the direction of your left shin bone, this time curl your toes in on themselves and feel whether your left foot is slightly different to your right foot in how you're experiencing this movement. Is it harder for you perhaps to curl your toes in of your left foot compared to your right foot? And then slowly come out of that movement and allow your leg to go back to where it would like to go. And as you go into that movement one more time, as you are bringing your toes, you're curling your toes in, and you're bringing the top of your foot in the direction of your left shin bone, you're making that movement in a coordinated way so that you're only going as far as feels comfortable for you, and then you're controlling the release of that movement as you are releasing in your ankle joint and you're uncurling your toes. And have you noticed what's happening in your lower back area? Have you been, as you've been making these movements? And then just allow your left leg to come back to rest. And go into that movement of bringing both of the tops of your feet in the direction of your shin bones of both of your legs. At the same time, you're curling your toes in, and then very slowly release out of that. And then very slowly, as you are releasing, go in the other direction. So you are now bringing the tops of both of your feet further away from your shin bones, and you're bringing your toes in the direction of your knees. Slowly release out of that and bring the tops of your feet in the direction of your shin bones and curl your toes in slightly, and then very slowly come out of those movements, feeling your internal sensations from those movements, and feeling where else in your shoulders, perhaps the back of your head, your arms, and your fingers, perhaps, where you have been feeling those movements. And rest. Bring your attention to your right arm and very slowly roll allowing your right arm to remain in contact with the floor. Roll your right arm into your side, and your right shoulder is moving in the direction of your left shoulder. The tip of your right shoulder is moving away from the floor slightly in the direction of your other shoulder, just comfortably far, and then very slowly, with infinite slowness, release out of that, allowing your arm to roll back to wherever it would like to go. And allow your right arm to rest. And go into that movement with your left arm. Very slowly roll your left arm in to your side. Your left arm is remaining in contact with the floor. Your left shoulder, the tip of your left shoulder is moving in the direction of your right shoulder. Feel how far it would like to go, and then very slowly, it's the slowness of your release that is the most informative to you. And then allow your left arm to slowly come back to where it would like to go, and rest. Bring your attention to your right, the tip of your right shoulder once more. And this time, bring the tip of your right shoulder slightly towards the floor, ever so slightly, and in the direction of the base of the back of your neck behind you. It's only a very small movement, and then slowly just allow your shoulder to go back to where it would like to go, and rest. And do the same once more with your left shoulder. Bring the tip of your left shoulder, it's going to come ever so slightly more in the direction of the floor behind you, ever so slightly, and in the direction of the base of the back of your neck. You're bringing the tip of your left shoulder slightly in towards the base of the back of your neck, and then slowly let that release, so that your arm and your shoulder go back to where they would like to go. And we're going to bring all of those movements together, and you may like to motor plan the movement before you make it. You are going to be very slowly and very gently bringing both of the tops of both of your feet slightly away from your shin bones, and at the same time bringing your toes of both of your feet in the direction of your knees, whilst at the same time bringing the tip of both of your shoulders slightly behind you, ever so gently and carefully, in the direction, and it's only a direction, of the base of the back of your neck. And at the same time, you will be slightly lifting your waistline area slightly further away from the floor as you do this. So when you are ready, begin by very gently lifting your waistline a very small way. And as you continue to do so, you're bringing the tops of both of your feet in the direction of your shin bones. You are bringing the tops of both of your feet further away from your shin bones. Your toes of both of your feet are coming in the direction of your knees, and the tip of both of your shoulders are going in the direction of your base of the back of your neck. And feel what's happening on the back of your head, and then slowly release out of that movement. Your shoulders are releasing, the tops of your feet and your toes are releasing, and your waistline area is coming back to where it would like to go. And rest for a moment, bringing your attention to the movement of your breathing. And we'll now motor plan that movement the other way. You're going to be slowly bringing your waistline slightly in the direction of the floor. You're very slowly bringing your waistline closer to the floor. It's only a direction, and the tops of both of your feet are moving in the direction of your shin bones, and you are curling your toes in, and at the same time you're bringing both of the tips of your shoulders in the direction of each other, and you're rolling your arms in, and then you're slowly going to release out of that. So when you are ready, begin by very slowly and gently lowering your waistline more in the direction of the floor. Both of the tops of your feet are moving in the direction of your shin bones. You're curling your toes in, and your shoulders are moving in the direction of each other, and you're rolling your arms in. Feel that closing in your front. And then very slowly, with infinite slowness, release out of that movement, coordinating the release of your feet, your ankles, your toes, your arms, and your hands in relation to your waistline area. You have been exploring the forwards and the backwards direction of movement in your spine, and feel your internal sensations from those movements, giving yourself a moment to feel the movement in your breathing and to feel how you are making contact with the ground. And where you are feeling your weight, has that changed in any way? We're now going to go into those movements with your knees raised towards the ceiling in turn, and with your feet standing on the floor. So very, very gently, if you have a bolster underneath your knees, slide each foot in the direction of your sitting bones, standing your feet, raising your knees comfortably. And you may notice a slight change in what's happening in your lower back area or in other parts of you. And bringing your attention to your waistline area very slowly and gently, begin by lifting your waistline area slightly further away from the floor. And you are rolling in your pelvis in the direction of your tailbone. And it isn't very much of a movement at all. And then just let that come back. Allow your arms to release softly by your sides. And go into that movement once more. Very slowly and gently bring your waistline area slightly further away from the floor. You are contracting the muscles either side of your spine, and you may be feeling a very, very slight arching in your back. You may be feeling this in other parts of your spine and in your shoulders as you are rolling in the direction of your tailbone. And then slowly release out of that. And go into that once more. Very slowly lift your waistline, and you are contracting those muscles that run all the way up and down your spine, from the base of the back of your neck all the way down to the top of the back of your pelvis. You're rolling in the direction of your tailbone, and you may feel that you'd like to take a lovely breath in, inflating your belly, and then slowly release out of that and rest for a moment. And this time you are bringing your waistline slightly more in the direction of the floor. You are lowering your waistline. And as you are making this movement, you may feel how your weight is transferring along your spine in the direction of your ribs, perhaps, and your pubic bone, the space between your pubic bone and your lower ribs is getting smaller. So when you are ready, very gently bring your waistline ever so slightly closer to the floor. You are contracting in your abdominal muscles in your front, and you are inviting the muscles in your back to reciprocally lengthen, and then slowly come out of that movement and rest. And go into that movement again. You are bringing your pubic bone and your lower ribs closer together. You are contracting in your abdominal muscles in your front, and you may be feeling how the air is coming out of your lungs. And this time, as you release out of that, and you are finding your inhalation, you're lifting your waistline area slightly further away from the floor, and you're rolling in the direction of your tailbone. And continue with that movement. You are bringing comfort into your lower back area and all the way up and down your spine. You are exploring the forwards and the backwards direction of movement in your spine. As you are finding your exhalation and bringing your waistline slightly close to the floor, you are lowering your waistline and you are contracting in your front. And this is a forwards direction of movement in your spine. Slowly release out of that. And as you are lifting your waistline, rolling in the direction of your tailbone, you are contracting the muscles in your back, either side of your spine, and you are exploring the backwards direction of movement in your spine. And slowly release out of that. And as you continue with that movement, make it smaller and make it slower. And you may be feeling a transferring of weight on the underside of your pelvis, perhaps. You may be feeling this in your sacrum area, or you may be feeling this further up your spine in the direction of your ribs. And as you continue with that movement, you may feel where one direction is perhaps slightly more difficult to organize than the other direction. It may be easier for you, perhaps, to lift your waistline slightly further away from the floor and roll in the direction of your tailbone relative to bringing your waistline slightly closer to the floor. And as you are going with your natural momentum and in your own rhythm, in your breathing, feel which way is easier for you and which way is perhaps slightly more difficult for you. And as you are continuing with these movements, making them smaller and making them slower, you may be feeling a point on the underside of your pelvis, perhaps, or in your spine, where you are transferring your weight through so that you are equalizing how far you are moving in one direction relative to the other direction. And whichever way is slightly more difficult for you to organize, let that be as far as you go in the opposite direction, and let that be your guide as to how small to make the movements and the size of your movement in one direction relative to the other. And then slow it right down until you come to rest. And pause for a moment. Feeling the broadening and the widening in your breathing. Feeling how you are making contact with the ground. And if it is comfortable for you to roll over onto your front, very slowly and very gently, if you can maintain the contact of your head with your support As you do so, roll over onto your front. And if it isn't comfortable for you to come over onto your front, you can continue with that lovely rolling in your pelvis and the rolling on the back of your head, and exploring that forwards and backwards direction of movement lying on your back. And if it is comfortable for you to come over onto your front, you may like to support underneath the front of your chest, perhaps. And it's nice to have a folded blanket underneath your forehead if that is comfortable for you. And when you come over onto your front, you may like to rest your forehead on your folded blanket with your hands palms down either side of your head to support you. Or if it's more comfortable to turn your head one way or the other way, then it's nice to support the side of your head, possibly with a folded handkerchief, or however you find is comfortable for you today. And when you're doing your own practice, you can choose which side you go into the movements, which side is the most comfortable for you to begin with. And let's begin with, when you come over to lying on your front, to place your forehead on your folded blanket and to very gently alight your head away from the floor, ever so gently. You're not actually lifting your head, you are simply alighting it slightly away from the floor. And just let it slowly come back down to rest. And if it is comfortable for you to turn your head to your right, slowly turn your head to your right, allowing your left arm to come down by your side. And your right arm is bent at the elbow, with your palm comfortably positioned near your head. And as you begin to lift particular parts of you in these movements, it's not the lift that is of the main interest, it's how you are coming down from the lift. And bring your attention to your right elbow, and keeping the palm of your hand in contact with the floor, slowly lift your right elbow ever so slightly away from the floor, and only go a very small way, and then very gently allow your right elbow to come back down to the floor with infinite slowness to rest. And go into that movement once more, and you may like to make the movement a little bit slower and a little bit smaller this time, as you lift your elbow ever so slightly away from the floor, and then allow it to very slowly come back down and rest. And this time, as you are very slowly lifting your right elbow slightly further away from the floor, at the same time, alight your head as if you are going to look over your right shoulder. It's only a direction, and only go a small way, And then with immense slowness, come out of that movement, allowing your head and your right elbow to return at the same time back down and rest. Bring your attention to your left foot and very slowly, keeping the whole of your left foot in contact with the floor, slowly lengthen your left foot along the floor until it would like to lift. And then as it begins to lift, allow your left leg to lift, and at the same time, lift your head and your arm and your elbow and your hand and go into your back lift, feeling the contraction, and then very slowly releasing out of that so that your head, your elbow, your arm, and your left leg return back down to the floor at the same time. And feel what is releasing as you return back down to the floor, and feeling your internal sensations from those movements. And pause for a moment. And bring your left arm back up so that it's supporting you next to your head, and very slowly bringing your chin slightly closer to and further away from your breastbone. Turn your head back to center. And then, if it's comfortable for you, very slowly turn your head the other way. And bring your right arm down by your side, turning your head to your left very slowly and gently. And you may like to make some adjustments as you turn. And very slowly and carefully bring your left elbow slightly further away from the floor, only a very, very small way. You are contracting in your muscle groups around your shoulder blade and in your neck area, but you may be feeling this in other parts of you. And then from there, very slowly, using gravity, control the rate of your descent. And allow your left elbow to rest. And bring your attention to your right leg, and keeping your right leg in contact with the floor, leading with your toes, lengthen your right leg along the floor until it would like to lift. And then when it feels as though it would like to lift, allow your right leg to lift, and at the same time, lift your left elbow, your left arm, and your left hand, and your head, and slowly go into your back lift, looking as if you are going to look over your left shoulder, and feel the contraction in your back. And from there, very slowly release out of that movement, feeling what is releasing as you come out of that, so that your elbow, your left arm, your head, and your left ribs and your right leg are coming back down to the floor at the same time. And rest. Feeling your internal sensations from those movements. And when you are ready, slowly roll over onto your back taking your time. And if it's possible for you to keep your head in contact with the floor as you roll over onto your back. And as you do so, allowing your knees to be up in the direction of the ceiling with your feet standing. And as you come over onto lying on your back, spend a few moments feeling the movement in your breathing and feeling how you are making contact with the ground, where you are feeling your weight the most. And slowly go into those same movements of contracting those extensor muscles of your back by very gently lifting your waistline ever so slightly and gently away from the floor. You're rolling in the direction of your tailbone and slowly rolling in your pelvis the other direction. You are lowering your waistline and contracting in your abdominal muscles, inviting your extensor muscles of your back to lengthen. And continue with that movement a few more times, very slowly and gently, only going a very, very small way. As you are making these movements, you have been contracting, in particular, the muscles in your back, the extensor muscles of your back, and you have been releasing them. And by bringing your waistline ever so slightly closer to the floor, you are beginning to lengthen them. Go very slowly, go very gently, making the movement smaller and slower. And till you come back to rest. And when you are ready, lengthen your legs long if that is comfortable for you, or place them over a bolster. And feel where you are feeling your weight the most. Trace your midline from the top of the crown of your head down your spine to your tailbone, and feel whether there are any differences either side of your midline and whether that has changed in any way since the beginning of this session. And when you are ready, slowly roll over onto your side and very carefully bring yourself back up to standing. Taking your time and maintaining your internal awareness. As you slowly come back up, you have been lengthening major muscle groups. And as you come back up to standing, you are integrating that new information. And you may like to go walking as you come to standing and feel where you are placing your feet. Feel the movement in your ankle joints, your knee joints, your pelvis, and how your arms are swinging from your shoulders. And where are you looking on your horizon as you take each step forwards? And where are you feeling your weight in your feet as you are walking? And is it any different from the beginning of this session? And with this awareness, walk into the rest of your day. And thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen.